How many people agree with that? I wouldn't vote for him now because he's a convicted felon. Raise your hand really, really high so I can see it. Okay, so that's not very many of you that push it. How many of you would say, no, I'm not impacted by the fact that he's now a convicted felon? So most of you don't, it doesn't affect you. Okay, all right, who's next?
Dr. Phil's interview with Trump was fire, and I'm glad that he took the time to debunk all these myths that these fools be talking about, and he proved that just because Donald Trump got convicted and he's a convicted felon, don't mean they ain't voting for him. This video is brought to you by TatumStore.com. TatumStore.com. Get the merch link in the description section. Like this video, comment on this video, share this video, which is the biggest thing. Like, comment, and share. It don't take nothing to hit the like button. Just hit the like button. You like it, you watch it, hit the like. Let's get into this. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to play this clip. I want to make it quicker because I just made my last video with 30 minutes. And I don't know if you want to watch 30 minutes of me making a video. But Donald Trump, Dr. Phil, I thought it was really good. You know, I have an opportunity to interview Donald Trump, and I'm trying to figure out what's the best way to do it. I don't want to just be like everybody else and do the same questions, asking the same softball stuff. You know, of course, it'd be good for my platform. But at the end of the day, I do want to add value. But I appreciate people that have interviewed Donald Trump with substantive interviews. And I think it really helps him, especially when Dr. Phil is interviewing him. Because all these other, only thing I'm waiting for is Joe Rogan to interview Trump. When Joe Rogan interviewed Trump, that's going to be the biggest Joe Rogan show that has ever come out. And I think it's going to be great. And I think Joe Rogan's going to agree with everything Trump say. I can almost put my life on it. All right, roll the clip.
One of the big myths is that the burden of proof lies with the prosecution. Mm-hmm. That is the law. But I can tell you, after years and years and years of trial, the truth is that the jury sits there and says, I'm looking at all this, and if we're not down here for the reason they say we're down here, somebody needs to give me an alternative explanation of why we are down here. So if we're not down here because of what the prosecutors are telling us, then what's the alternative story? What's the alternative explanation? And when you get muzzled in the way that this judge muzzled this case, they're sitting there saying, what's the rest of the story? You're not allowed to testify because you're in jeopardy if you do. They let all of this other stuff in that should never get into the jury box. And so, you know, the scales get tipped. And it gets very, very difficult to get even one juror because there's not an alternative story that if you could tell without being in peril, if you can tell without being intimidated, it would be a very different situation. The burden legally is on the prosecution. But logically, with the jury,
you're guilty until proven innocent.
That's exactly the truth.
I can tell you, that's the truth with me.
That's how it plays out. And I did a focus group about this when I did a show on this on Merritt Street, and I had 250 people in, did a focus group, and I said, and overwhelmingly the people were in your favor. But I found those that had questions, and I said, what is your question? They said, where there's smoke, there's fire. Yeah. I didn't hear the other part of it. Everybody calls it inflation, but affordability.
So this is when they get into the lies that Biden tells when it comes to inflammation of your pocketbook. All right, roll the clip.
When we talk about gasoline under your administration, average $2.57 a gallon. Under Biden, $3.61, 40% more. Under your administration, homes average $320,000. Under the Biden administration, 31% more, $420,000.
Now, I think this is a good thing for real estate agents, right? I mean, you want the housing price to go up. But if you're a purchaser, you want the houses to be low and affordable, especially with these interest rates.
Under your administration, interest rates 3.8 average. Under the Biden administration, 39% more at 5.3%.
I want to go back to that real quick. Brother, do y'all understand what this means? This right here is probably $1 more per gallon. If you driving a truck that got, like, I think my truck got like 30 gallons in it, but you driving a regular car to say you got 17 gallons, you're paying $1 more per gallon. That over the course of a year, you paying crazy amounts of money. You feeling this. And then with the housing like this. Now, I'm not a realtor, but I do understand housing. The person that could buy this house under Trump at 3.8% interest rate can never afford this house under Trump. This house under under Biden at 5.3% interest rate. That's 39%, almost 40% more interest. That means your payment's gonna be 40% more. So when you thought you was gonna buy that house you've been eyeing, when them interest rates went up like this, you can't afford that monthly payment anymore. And then the houses go up to here. You dang sure can't afford this at 5.3%. This is what people are missing. This is what people are feeling, that people don't know how to interpret what to explain. When housing prices go up, I'm gonna say this to clear it up. When gas prices go up, you feel it in your pocket, you have less money. When houses prices go up, but the interest rates go up, your house is here, but you can't sell it because the buyer can't afford that house no more. And so therefore, it's less people buying your house because they can't afford this interest rate. Your house may be worth a lot, but you don't have no buyers, or the buyers begin to decrease. So what happens? You're gonna have to take that house from here, somewhere down a little bit from there. So it's not gonna be true growth if you want people to end up buying it at this interest rate, unless investors are buying it outright. Anyway.
It's $320,000. Under the Biden administration, 31% more, $420,000. Under your administration, interest rates 3.8 average. Under the Biden administration, 39% more at 5.3%. Okay, now let's look at the border.
And these interest rates at 7% right now. This is the average, he said. It's 7% right now.
Under you,
9% in some cases.
average 1.7 million border crossings. Their official number is 6.4. That's from Homeland Security. It's actually about 13 million because I know I've been to the border. I've talked to the border guards down there, Brandon Judd. I've talked to Jason Jones. I've talked to the people that actually know the numbers. They say it's between 10 and 13 million. So my point is, when you look at the actual numbers, plus the things you just talked about, lower taxes, higher tax revenue, you look at that and you would say, my God, he should be running unopposed. I mean, why?
And these numbers, I appreciate it, and these numbers are really, I don't know who made them up.
Very conservative.
As an example, I had gasoline down to $1.87, not $2.57. Right. It's now almost at $4. It's going to be at $5 very shortly. Right. It's going way up.
I took very conservative numbers so people couldn't argue.
Well, interest rates, I was at 2.6%. They have 3.8, and now they're at 9%, 10%. And you can't get money. So,
yeah, they were at 2% because we got my wife's car less than 2% interest rate. And then on the Biden, I just got a car because I sold my other car and got another car, and the interest rate's like 7%, and I got almost 800 credit score. I had 820 on one of my other cars, but this was during the Biden administration. I had an 820 credit score, and my interest rate was 5%. That would have been a 1%, 2%, or no interest rate on this car. But instead it's 5%. And then the car I just bought, which is still in the tail end, I think the interest rate like 7 or 8% interest rate. And I almost have an 800 credit score when I bought that car.
So, we did a great job.
Yes, sir.
And so this is the part where he goes and asks the crowd about the convictions of Donald Trump, and this is how they responded.
Great interview. Saw a side of him I hadn't seen before. My name is Keith.
I know your name's Keith. We've got a quick meeting this way.
Yes, sir. I know it. I'm that bad penny. I keep showing up,
Good.
So
just keep showing up.
I still have a problem with voting for somebody for president that is a convicted felon. And I don't know how to overcome that.
That is what?
That is a convicted felon.
Yeah.
That's trouble for me. I don't think that somebody in that capacity should be allowed to run for president, but the rules are the rules.
Well, that's right. And in fact, that goes to our first question on the poll. Let's look at that. The first question was asked, I would vote for a convicted felon for president of the United States.
Dang.
91% say yes. And then Keith and a few stragglers say no. So 91% of the people say yes. And I don't know if that's because they think that's kind of a bogus conviction or if they think it's a white-collar conviction or something. That's something we need to drill down more on. But 91% of the people say they would.
There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. It's backfiring. They thought that people would change their mind and they're all dumb like these leftists. But in reality, I mean, people think it's bogus. It's not landing. It's financial crimes. Come on. The dude didn't hurt anybody. There's no victims. This woman signed an NDA with him and he paid her money. And he falsified documents to do that. Who's the victim there? No victim. It's a victimless crime. He's not like a person's slinging dope or something like that, where he's giving dope to crackheads and drive-by shootings and all that stuff. So it's not like that. So it to me, it's pointless to care about. But regardless, I shout out to him for having a really good interview with Donald Trump. There was something else I wanted to say and I totally forgot. Anyway, I said enough. I'll see you on the next one. I'm out.